Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Friday, TGIF, and all of our guests today brought to you by, and that includes Thomas Drance standing by, the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Ryan going on and on about Thomas Drance's jacket. Apparently it's incredible. So we look forward to seeing that. Get ready for winter with an unbeatable stay at the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. This season, they're offering 25% off their best available rate all winter long on weekday stays with a minimum 2-night booking. Whether it's a cozy coastal getaway or a serene retreat, don't miss this exclusive offer. Call them directly, 250-248-8333, or visit BaysideResortParksville.com to book your event today. Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. This is from Eddie. And he's come through. This is a listener/customer of ours. I think we know him. Yeah. But he's come through with some numbers for us. 16 goals allowed through 8 home games last year. Yep. A couple of shutouts, 5 games allowing 2 or less. 34 goals allowed through 8 home games this time around.
Oh, boy.
So over 100% increase. There you go. Put that in your pipe.
And smoke it.
Thomas Drance joining us now from The Athletic in the wake of the Canucks 5-2 loss at the hands of the Islanders. What do we got there with the jacket there? That's looking very sharp.
I don't know, man. I think it's a pretty normal jacket. Got some floral print to it, I guess.
Flowers.
Is it a shacket? Half shirt, half jacket?
Yeah, it's a jacket. Yeah.
Very good.
One of those.
Yeah.
One of those newfangled things.
Yeah. Was it really in the back of the closet and you haven't used it in like 6 years?
More or less.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got it.
Look good.
Yeah. Looking good. As always.
Good, boys.
Yeah. As always. Okay, Thomas, home ice. Why were the Canucks so bad to start the season? Any theories? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just random distribution. I know that's an unsatisfying answer, but it's still a small sample, right? They've played 8 games at home, 7 on the road. Is that right? And I do think you can look at it and say, maybe they've faced slightly more difficult competition on home ice, so maybe that's part of it. But I mean, they've been outscored by 7 at 5-on-5 on home ice. They've outshot their opponents. Their goaltending for some reason has been like .850 at home, and .920 on the road, 5-on-5. I mean, that's inexplicable. That I don't think comes down to defensive coverage or distractions or getting outworked on home ice or anything else. I really think that's just over small samples. They're on a bad run of games at home and on a stellar run of games on the road, and I really think it's most likely to be that simple. But I guess the lingering concern I have is this team has this sort of form where the bottom falls out on what they generate. Right. And I mean, their defense was problematic last night, too. It was porous. They won't be happy with it, especially on the disallowed goal, the 4th goal, probably the 3rd goal, the Engvall goal as well. I mean, there were a lot of mistakes by the Canucks last night. There were moments where their effort seemed to be lacking. There were moments even just on basic breakouts where the puck would end up along the wall, where the winger was on the wrong side of the puck, really elementary mistakes, things that aren't characteristic for this team. It was an ugly performance, dismal. But, my sort of big concern isn't the home ice thing. It's when the bottom falls out on this team, they seem to have these performances where they generate literally nothing at all, right? I mean, 5 shots through 2 periods, no scoring chances really in the first 2 periods to speak of. I mean, even their Lekar-Mackey goal comes off sort of a perimeter shot, lovely shot, not taking anything away from the rookie on scoring his first goal, but it's not like it was a high-quality chance. It was a high-quality finish, right? That reminded me of the Edmonton game, right? It looked a little bit like the Edmonton game in terms of this team's inability to generate anything, sustain any type of purpose or attack offensively. That to me is the concern. It's that every now and then we see this team lay an egg, and when they do, it's really just that they're stuck. They're stuck in their own end. They're unable to generate anything. We saw that last night, and it was ugly.
The blue line, Thomas, so much concern. Susie is just not having a good year so far. But how do you fix it? The market is not great right now. Prices are very high. And, how do you fix this blue line 15 games into the season? Because they're not happy with the blue line. They can't be.
No, and 15 games into the season, that's challenging, right?
Yep.
45 games into the season, right before the deadline. The market tends to loosen up a little bit. Not that prices will go down. I think defenders are going to be wildly expensive to add, and the Canucks are far from the only contender that's having issues or that's going to look at their blue line group as something that they can or that they need to sort of upgrade ahead of the Stanley Cup playoffs. If the Canucks had a straightforward, relatively affordable way to upgrade their blue line, they probably would have done it already, right? That's just true. They've been looking. They'll keep looking. I think everyone understands that they need more on the back end. And yeah, you're right. That second pair of Susie and Myers, they've struggled. But I would say until last night, they'd actually been on a relatively decent run, their best 5 or 6 game segment of the season. And then everyone struggled last night. It wasn't isolated to them. The Hughes-Hronek pair played poorly last night.
Yeah.
On the fourth goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fourth goal in particular, but that wasn't just on Hronek. I know Hronek ends up sort of kneeling in the crease, and it's a bad look on the Canucks defender. But I mean, the forwards on that play too. Like, who did you want him to take, given the reads from his centerman and his winger? I mean, that was a tough one. That was especially after the club had been given a reprieve. But again, we know that last night was ugly. We also know that, while this team has put in a few stinkers this season, seemingly all of them on home ice, right? The Flames, the Devils, the Oilers last night, like those are bad games. No question about it. But, for the most part, this team's still second in the Pacific. Their point percentage is still good. Their defense definitely needs some help. No question about it. What can they do in the short term? I don't think they're going to separate Hughes and Hronek, and I don't think they should. They need that top of the lineup logic, the way that they're outscoring and outshooting teams at the top of the lineup. They need that to play. That's been the basis of their wins over the course of the season. So that has to stay consistent. I think you could consider elevating Erik Brannstrom. I mean, that would be sort of the one thing that I'd sort of look at and say, hey, maybe they got to give this guy a shot. I know he's not the biggest guy. I think that based on how this defense is built and how the Canucks would prefer to play, that ideally they'd have, a tree playing those second pair minutes. But I mean, at some point you've got to try something internally anyway. And that to me is like the easiest sort of easiest different look that you could trot out. This club's made a lot of changes to their lineup over the course of the season. The one thing we haven't seen shift at all, aside from Hughes-Hronek, is Susie Myers. And, they haven't been getting the same results as Hughes-Hronek, clearly. So I'd see that second pair just tweaked maybe. Maybe it's Susie Brannstrom, right? Maybe it's with Brannstrom on the right side. Maybe it's Myers Brannstrom. I'm not sort of singling out either Myers or Susie here so much as I think it might be worth trying just a fresh look for your non-Hughes-Hronek pairs. Maybe just see if that can jumpstart things a bit. But like fundamentally last night was a game where they got outworked. Their defense was poor for sure. They couldn't get moving, but man, the sins from last night go well beyond any one pair or any one player. That was a total team lack of effort that we saw at Rogers Arena on Thursday night.
Thomas, 15 games last year, 15 games this year. The Canucks have scored 18 fewer goals. I didn't see that coming, but production is way down.
How did you not see that coming?
Well, did you
thought they were just going to be the 80s Oilers every season? Like,
Thomas,
we've never seen a team score like that in the first 15 games of last season.
year.
There's no way they were going to repeat that.
And they did. A part of their goals in the first 15 games last year was the 10-1 shellacking in San Jose. But production is
Edmonton too.
And Edmonton 8-1.
That was fun.
So they had 18 goals right there, the two games. But listen, Pettersson's production's down. Miller's production's down. Besser's out now. I mean, there's got to be concern there. What is your thoughts on Miller? And is he playing injured? How bad is it?
I mean, I'm sure he's playing at less than 100%. He's got to be. I mean, he's got to be. I don't have concerns about this team's offensive push big picture. I do think that there's still another level that they have to get to, especially in terms of generating offense when Hughes isn't on the ice. But that's consistent with what we saw last year, right? Like, here's the truth. No team had ever converted on shots as efficiently as the Canucks did through the first 50 games of the season last year. We've never seen it since, the widespread adoption of the butterfly, since goaltenders, started averaging 6'3" in terms of their height. Since the hard cap came into play, 20 years had passed and we'd never seen a team that was as fortunate from a shooting efficiency perspective as last year's Canucks team through about the All-Star break. Well, from the All-Star break on, we saw how much they struggled to score last year. It's why DeBrusk was a priority for this club, right? It's why they went out and added Heinen and took a shot on Sprong and really prioritized dynamic scoring wingers as opposed to, replacing Elias Lindholm with a third-line center upgrade or being willing to be a little bit worse on the back end on paper, right? That this team knew. They knew that when the chips were down in Game 6 and 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year against the Oilers, with 2 opportunities to advance to the conference final, this team scored 3 goals. And they're probably fortunate to get that many, right? They didn't have any answers offensively. This year, despite the fact that not every single shot the Canucks are taking is finding the back of the net, I actually think they're generating more for the most part. But we're still seeing the bottom fall out. We're still seeing some of the limitations of the progress that this team has made in certain matchups against the Oilers, against the Islanders last night, where, this team's offensive limitations show. The offense has long been my biggest concern about this team. The thing that most significantly caps their ceiling. I actually think they've taken and made reasonable strides to improve in that area. It's just that, man, shooting 15, 16% is a hell of a drug. It really warps what your perception of the team is. Frankly, I think this team is better offensively than this team last year. I think they've improved in that area. But the wind's not at their back to quite the same extreme degree. You're not getting, 3 goals in the month of November that basically bounce in off Sam Lafferty's took us. And as a result, it looks a little bit like someone trying to get ketchup out of a glass bottle at a diner. It's just not coming, and they're working really hard on it. But yeah, I think this team's actually better offensively, despite what the results look like. On occasion, we've seen that dry up, and it certainly did last night against the Islanders when they generated absolutely nothing aside from one gorgeous Lekaramaki half slapper.
Yeah. Early on, and they didn't build on that, or Dakota Joshua's return, or some spark with the Quinn Hughes hit. We could your captain goes down, and there's just nothing after that. But Thomas, we could go on.
It was a clean hit, though.
It was a clean hit.
It was
a clean hit. I get that, but you just think that there. I'm not saying go crazy on Siplikov who hit him, but I'm just saying maybe there'd be some energy in the building after that. And there wasn't. We could go on and on.
Yeah, for sure. I do also wonder, Joshua returns. Sometimes you see this, the Canucks were flat after Besser couldn't play in Game 7 because of the blood clots. We saw that with the Avalanche after Nichushkin was lost to them in the playoffs. Sometimes a heavy emotional burden, like getting a teammate back after a cancer diagnosis and surgery to fix that. It doesn't always help you, right? Especially, in mid-November against the Islanders. That could have been part of it too. Fact is, I'm not worried about this team, despite some one-off dreadful performances. If they become a trend, I'll be here ranting and raving and yelling and doing my bit.
I can't talk given my wardrobe, but Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox unsigned. So that's where my camper curtains went. Thomas Drance stole them.
They do look like curtains of some 1970s curtains, something like that.
Yeah, like something you'd find in one of the guest houses at the Manning Lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were redesigned in 1971. Hey, Thomas, now don't listen to anybody. You're looking sharp, buddy. We thank you each and every Friday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.